Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And today I have with me Michael Boothby. Now, I met Michael on a speaker connections for Event Raptor. And as soon as he came on with like a squid hat, I was like, dude, we are going to talk. We are going to be friends, because anybody who could show up on a virtual networking event with an animal on their head. Now it's a hat, but still, I'm like, dude, that's my kind of person. So let me tell you, the listener, the watcher, about Michael. So Michael stands at the confluence of ancient wisdom and contemporary creativity. As the visionary behind Lovewise Media and Michael Boothby Creative, he is a beacon for those seeking to elevate their consciousness and embrace authenticity in a world that often feels so disconnected. Through his programs, songs, jokes, and workshops, Michael aims to ignite a worldwide movement of creative expression, leading to transformative change and a more harmonious, joyful world where nobody feels alone. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jennie.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. And I'm not kidding you. When I saw you in the squid hat, I was like, that's it. I don't care what this dude does. He's going to be on my show.
Did I tell you the story about how I got that hat?
Well, I don't know. Tell us.
So yeah, I went up to a festival last summer in Alaska. My best friend, Alex, runs a kombucha company. So I went to help out, and I made a little secret menu with my tarot readings and content creation. So there was a lady there who she has bins of these hats, these Kraken hats, and she all different colors, right? She comes and she sells out every year. So I decided to interview her because she was also a massage therapist. I'm like, wow, you're so interesting. So I did a 5-minute interview with her, and she said, hey, keep the hat. And it was like a $50 hat. I was like, really? She was like, yeah, no one ever asks me about what I do or why. And that was really cool. No one's ever interviewed me before. So, it's like the power of just exactly doing like what you do, giving the light, sharing the light with others.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That is so fun. That makes it even better. And the fun thing about it for me is when you go onto a Zoom with a bunch of people and you expect to see a bunch of people just sitting there bored out of their wits, waiting for their chance to talk, right? And I show up and you're sitting there cracking jokes in the chat, wearing a squid hat. I'm like, yeah, we gonna talk. So
that's my vibe.
Right? So what got you into the world of consciousness and authenticity and bringing it all together with comedy?
Wow. Yeah. So the comedy actually came first, and it really started in 2013. Back then I was a junior in college at the University of Florida. And I took a beginning improv class as an elective. And I remember being like a child, and I really loved drama and theater games and being in like the musical that would happen every season. And so I took that class, and just at the end of that 12 weeks or however long it was the semester, I realized that I felt a lot closer to, my classmates than I'd felt to even like my best friend in college, or even some friends who I'd known since childhood. And so I said, man, this improv is really powerful. And, just having a space where we can create and play and just be ourselves. And because we don't get that often, I think, especially as we grow up. When we're kids, we get encouraged to play, and then it's, stay in your seat, keep learning. And we kind of just get conditioned to be workers. And then you go to the workplace and it's the same. It's, oh, don't do that, do this, and maybe you'll get a raise next year. And it's all it's not fun. And I learned from that experience that this is really powerful. And I ended up going the next year taking an advanced improv class, I went even deeper. And then I worked on a cruise ship and I taught improv on the cruise ship. And then I went to New Zealand and I taught an improv team from the ground up in Wanaka. None of those people had ever done improv before. And then, again, same thing, 8-9 weeks later, we're performing, like kind of like a Whose Line Is It Anyway style show at the local pub. And there's 300 people there. And the local paper wrote about it because they don't have a lot of entertainment in there. So, from there, I went to Chicago because I said, I want to go deeper into improv. So I moved to Chicago to be, a musician, a comedian. I'd gotten into stand-up when I was living in New Zealand. So I still performed in Chicago. But then my time in Chicago was challenging. I lived there from 2016 to 2019 and I wasn't making a lot of money and I was anxious and depressed. So that's what kind of led me into spirituality. And so I joined this yoga studio called Satnam Yoga. And that's where I got plugged into Kundalini and breathwork. And these were practices that actually triggered, like in 2016, I had a very heavy spiritual awakening where I was like, oh, we're not alone and I'm here to help the world. And I guess it's through comedy, I guess, because that's what I love. And that's where I have found the most value and just how to express myself and to come back to who I really am and to be authentic. So from there, from like 2016 up till now, it's been, so I met somebody else. Her name's Lindsay Haley. And so she was the first person I met who combined spirituality with improv. And so I think she's actually still hosts this workshop. It's called Presence Practice, but she combines like Kundalini with more advanced kind of viola Spolin improvisational theater games. And it's really wild because you end up having these like past life regressions while you're staring someone else in the eye and like acting out a scene. And so that's where I really saw the power in this. And I really do believe that improv is essentially religion without dogma, because it's just make your partner look good and you'll look good and yes hand. And it's like all of these principles that if we could actually embody as a society, our world would look so different, because right now the world's all exploitation and hierarchies and power and control. And improv says, no, we're all stars. We're all the shit, And so let's play and let's have fun, and instead of taxing each other and having fees and starting wars, it's like no one wants that.
No,
so
exactly.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Well, it makes me think of like my solution to peace for the entire world, but we'll have to discuss that like later because I want to focus. Yeah. I want to focus on you for this, but we can definitely talk about that later.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people talk. I've been aware of breathwork as a practice, as something that people can do, and that a number of people do incorporate as part of who they are and how they're dealing with things. But I've never had anybody like explain really what breathwork is. I mean, I know most people are probably going, Jennie, it's breathing. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But there's more, right? There's got to be more to it than just breathing. So
there is.
Give us some insight for those of us who are like, okay, I've been hearing about it, but I don't know
what's this about. Right. Sure. Yeah. So actually, I just got back in February. I went on a 10-day breathwork intensive with my teacher, Jacques Theron, who I'm apprenticing under right now. So also just beyond even conscious comedy and my creative stuff, I'm a rebirther, or a breathwork facilitator. And so rebirthing was invented in the 1970s by Leonard Orr, and it's essentially it's a therapeutic process, because there's a lot of different styles of breathwork. And how rebirthing works is it's actually like 10 sessions, and people come over and there's a 45-minute diagnostic conversation, which again, it's kind of like therapy, but it's a little different because we're not talking to solve your problems. We're talking to just bring them up into conscious awareness. And so then the second 45 minutes is called the breathe. So normally in rebirthing, it's just a gentle, so we call that a conscious connected breath. And that's where the power comes from. It's from staying aware and keeping the deep breath, but in and right out, in and right out. And when you do that for a prolonged amount of time, like 45 minutes, you kind of enter a hypnotic state. You enter a trance state. And
Okay.
it's in that transpersonal state, that's where the insights come and the visions. And maybe even if you don't get there, though, you might cry, you might experience numbness in your arms or legs. It's called tetany. But all of this is really, it's just indicative of blockages, of energetic blockages. So that's kind of the whole theory behind rebirthing and breath work in general, is just we're overflowing our body with oxygen. And what is oxygen, right? That's like our life force energy. So when we really pump our system full of that, that's how we're able to actually heal. We're able to actually, we can process our emotions. We can process our trauma in a way where if we were just talking about it, we're still stuck in the mind. So breath work allows us first to get that energy through our body, but also to go beyond the mind, because I think that's what we have to do in order to heal. Because if we're just talking, we're just right here, right? So we can you can only talk about a problem so much. And so, right, we talk to bring stuff up to the surface, and then we do the breath work to really release it. And when I do it, I actually also go through the 9 different energy centers of human design as well. So I use those energy centers as kind of, are you familiar with human design?
I am. Yeah. I mean,
cool.
I don't know a lot about it, but I'm familiar with it. And I would recommend anybody who is listening to this going, what is human design? Go listen to the episode with Nicolene Halsinka, because she explained human design in that episode. So she's the best human design person I've ever met. And I've met quite a few. Nothing to say bad about the other ones. She just was so freaking good, But anyway, so you use the 9 centers of human design during the breathing.
Yeah.
Super cool.
During the talking part, just because it's because obviously there's 10 sessions for rebirthing. Right. So in that first session, it gives me in that first part, just especially if someone's not familiar with human design, I can kind of introduce them to their chart and just their type and their strategy and authority, because that's the stuff that I have found really helpful in my life. I found out I'm a projector, and I'm like, oh, I'm not here to work. I'm here to guide people. Oh, that's good to know. And then I have to wait for the invitation. So it's I had been pushing a lot in my life and just getting resistance. So now it's I learned, as a projector, you need to just do your thing so people see you and want to come work with you and receive your guidance. So you have to be invited, just like I was invited to come on this show. And so I can now speak about all this in a way where it will be received instead of pushed back on, because that's something that's happened to me a lot in my life. I see people very clearly, but if I'm not invited to speak or to give advice, I can really piss people off. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And because now it's oh, you're upset. And now I'm frustrated because I'm trying to help, but you've made me out to be something I'm not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so I again, and that's been a lot of my spiritual work. And especially with improv and rebirthing, I used to be, especially when I moved to Chicago, I was I'm a comic. I got to be funny. I got to be the center of attention. But doing all of this healing work, I said, oh no, I have to listen. And my power is actually in listening to others. And even in comedy, even in improv, if I'm listening to my partner and really can see them and know where we're at, that's what's going to allow me to make the best scene or the best joke. Or if it's my healing work, just to, I know exactly where I need to guide this to get them to have that realization on their own. So yeah, it's all connected.
That is so okay. That is even cooler. This is just getting more and more awesome. All of my woo-woo listeners are loving that. And for people who are not quite in the woo, because if on the woo-woo scale, I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, on the woo-woo scale, if you're not quite a 1 out of 2 woos yet, that's okay. We're here to help guide you through and help you understand, because all of this there is a scientific explanation to how all of this works and why it works in the body and how it releases. But I mean, we're not obviously going to explain it all here today.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say this for the people who are like, oh, that's woo woo, that's bullshit, that's not, no, number one, it never helps in life to be closed-minded. Like it's
Right.
just because you're cutting yourself off. But I mean, I always say at the very minimum of using human design, especially in my breathwork practice, I mean, what it allows me to do is to just focus each conversation on about every part of your being and your energy, right? Like it's like if we're in session 4, which is your solar plexus, then we're talking about your emotions and your
Mm,
emotional body and how you respond to things. So based on what my client has going on, that again, it might be maybe they're going through a breakup, maybe they're not, maybe they're single and they're trying to have confidence, but right, it doesn't matter what you're doing, there's an emotional side to it, right? And then, once we get near the end, which is like, right, the throat chakra, right? The throat is about how you express yourself in the world. And then, right, your third eye is like the inspiration and the insights, ideas. And so it's like, again, you can take all of these concepts and you can put them in words that it's like not woo woo. It's just
yeah.
very straightforward. So, but for me, it's a way for me to holistically treat every kind of part of your energetic being. So through the conversation, but then also accelerating it with the breath work.
Which reminds me, okay, if I haven't already introduced you to Shiraz Babu, you need to be introduced to Shiraz
Okay,
Babu because
please.
talking about energy and my listeners know how much I'm in love with that man and what he does for the
Mm,
world. And I think you guys will have so because he also has a great sense of humor too to go along with it. So you guys
love
will
that.
totally jive. So with all this, so there's the breath work, the understanding your consciousness, bringing in your human design. Let's get to the
Hmm.
comedy part because
Yeah.
for me, I would have to say the humor and the comedy that I have in my life has been a major part of why I'm so successful in so many different areas. I mean, even when I was the jewelry lady, part of the reason I was so successful is because my jewelry shows were hilarious because
Yeah.
I was
Right.
laughing at them and it, cracking jokes. I was having fun. So that meant all the ladies and sometimes gentlemen who were there were having fun too. So let's talk about bringing humor into business, into life. Like,
Yeah.
because I wish I could have taught, and this is why I told you I wanted to have you on the show. I wish I could have taught people how to be funny, but
Mm,
I don't know how to teach how to be funny. I just do because I've been
right.
trying to be funny my whole freaking life, you
Right.
know? So how is it that you work through and incorporate and do you really incorporate and teach comedy as part of what you're doing with people, working them through what they're experiencing?
Right. So I mean, as far as like my rebirthing goes and my breathwork practice, like I'll use if a situation comes up and I'm like I'm gonna make a little joke about that, just to make
Yeah.
my client laugh. So again, because again, I think when we laugh, number one, laughter is healing, laughter is value, right? When you make someone laugh, you're giving them a
Yeah.
positive experience. You're giving them a physical experience of joy and pleasure in their body. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that right there is why, again, I think the success of your business using comedy being funny, people trust people who are funny, right? If you're the guy in the corner who's like all quiet, people are like, they don't trust that guy. But the guy who's making everyone laugh, oh man, what's he talking about? What's going on over there? Who's that? Right? It's
Yeah.
just so I think, and it's funny. I wrote this book in 2019 called Message with Purpose, Swipe Dating Simplified. And I wrote this book because it was about how to be more authentic over swipe dating apps, but also how to use like improv and comedy to get dates. Because, right, what happens on a swipe dating app? Bing, it's a match, right? And now you're matched with someone. It's like, now what? What do I do? Right? And it's like, well, obviously,
Yes.
like you want to go on a date with them or you want to get in their pants, but whoa there, buddy. It's like you can't just jump right into that. We have to
Right.
establish that there's like some sort of a connection or a vibe. So for me, it was always like I said, the bare minimum when you match with someone online, just shine a light on something in their profile. I mean, again, that's like the bare minimum. But if you really want to like others, like shine a light on something in their profile and make a funny joke about it and see how they respond,
Right.
right? Because if they don't laugh at that, if they don't understand your sense of humor, it wasn't going to work out anyways.
Right.
But if they do, and then they start playing along in improv, right, that's a yes and response, which is what I say in the book. And you can apply this to business as well. If you're messaging people on Facebook for or leads or whatever, right? Because there's only three ways that someone can respond to you, whether it's on a dating app, social media platform, a no, which is either you're completely ignored or nope, sorry, I'm not interested, right? Which is okay. That's not what you wanted, but hey, plenty more fish in the sea. Keep going. Don't take it personally. They probably got stuff going on. And then, right, the second is a yes respond, which is they acknowledge what you say, but they haven't added anything yet. Which means, hey, it can mean multiple things. But what I would argue is, okay, they're interested, either they're busy or it just your joke wasn't funny enough. Try, keep pushing. But they've given you a yes. They've given you permission to either, keep selling them or wooing them, which if we're in business or dating.
Right.
But then, right, and then the best is that yes and response, which is like they not only do they take the joke, but then they run with it. Because, right, if you can start a conversation off that way with someone, you're in a great spot. You're in a great situation, especially if you do it on a date. And then if you've already had this joke, now you can go on the date and you can call back to this funny joke you made online. And now it's like that's even more powerful. Again, so the power of a callback is really great. Again, and like if you watch any great stand-up comedian, right, they'll get like 40 minutes into their set and they'll make that same joke that they talked about, in the at the very beginning, and then everyone laughs. You don't do a callback all the time, but when done right, it makes you feel like you're part of the show, right? Which, or in this case, it makes you feel like you've known someone for a long time, because it's like, then what does that become? It becomes an inside joke.
Yes.
Who do we have inside jokes with? Our best friends.
Our family.
And our family.
Yeah.
So if you're able to make an inside joke with somebody that you just met and you both think it's funny, that's powerful. That's a powerful connection.
Yeah.
So it's like, exactly, it's like alchemy.
It really is. And I love the fact that what you're talking about, obviously in your book, it's about dating, but it totally works in business. It totally works in sales and the conversation with somebody, because yes, you're going to at some point find that connective piece, say something. It might be funny, and they're going to go, because I will tell you, in 7 years of me doing home jewelry parties, there were people who showed up and they were like, who is this wackadoodle? Right? Like they didn't get it, and that's fine. They were not my audience. They bought something so that the hostess got a little something, and that was it. I never had to worry about them ever again. But then there were other people who were like, okay, she's a little weird, but I find her amusing, And then there were other people who loved me, and those were the people who became my loyal raving fans. Those were the ones who got it business-wise, that, when I made the joke of every one of your purchases feeds a hungry child. Their names are Jordan and Rachel, so please make sure it's the biggest order ever.
Yeah. Right.
And there were people who thought that was hilarious, and other people were like, how dare she bring up her kids and family? Blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah.
It's hilarious, y'all. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
That's the point. So
Quit taking yourself so seriously. We're all gonna die one day. Let's have some fun while we're here, Life's a cosmic joke.
Well, that just reminds me of, okay, so first of all, this whole conversation reminds me of two things that I saw on Facebook recently. One of them was, watch out for the funny guys, because they got you laughing and laughing and laughing, and then boom, you're naked. I was like, that's not wrong. And then secondly, there was an interaction between a couple of friends of mine, one of whom said something that was like, life is pretty, life is short. Just remember, we're all going to die someday, so you may as well enjoy while you're here. And somebody was like, yeah, nothing makes things better than complete and total nihilism.
Right. I had a nihilist phase for sure. I mean, I was like raised Catholic, and then I became atheist for like from the age of 12 probably to 26. And even after my spiritual phase, I've had like a dark night of the soul in 2019, 2020, where I was just like, man, this is all fake. Oh, yeah. I was ahead of the curve, though. My life fell apart before everyone else's. So you're welcome,
there you
everyone.
go. Well,
The water is warm, right?
and I've joked with people who can get the joke, and I know that my audience can get the joke what I'm about to tell y'all. Because when I was doing my vision board at the end of 2019 for 2020, one of the phrases that kept coming up over and over again in my head was exponential viral growth. You're welcome, y'all. Apparently, I predicted it. I'm sorry. Like exponential viral growth. I was like, are you serious? Okay. No. Because I was like,
Wow.
good. My business is gonna get, like, I thought it was my business. No, apparently that was just the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Wah,
But
wah.
and again, guys, it's a joke. It's a joke. So this is what this is all
Yeah.
about, having fun. So
Exactly.
Michael, with all of this, you've now turned a lot of this into a business. So we've talked about, you do the rebirthing and the breathwork sessions with people. You're taking people through human design and breathwork, and then also helping to incorporate comedy as into all of this. But you also do something else that's kind of fun. Comedic tarot readings.
Yes.
Tell me about that. How did that get started?
I mean, so I've been reading tarot, I think, since 2018, 2019. I also again studied under my teacher Jacques Theron. He did a course, and I was always like, what are these cards about? I've seen these my whole life. What is this about? And then I took his course and I learned. So, I learned about the major arcana, which really tells the story of every soul's journey through this life, and the minor arcana, which is more of like the day-to-day minutia, and then the court cards, which are, either aspects of ourselves or aspects of others. So yeah, I mean, I provide spiritual guidance, but I make it funny, right? Because it's like, again, it's like if I'm just doing a reading and telling you, but right, I like to make jokes too, because it keeps the client engaged. And it's fun because even if it's like kind of scary. If sometimes the reading, I'm like, oh no, the tower card, because the tower is kind of a scary card. It's the collapsing of the structure, but like, let's laugh about it. Let's find the funny, right? You can always find the funny.
Oh, yeah.
And so especially, I think in those moments of hard truth, which a lot of the times that's what a reading is. It's like we're taking the unconscious and we're just bringing light to it. And sometimes a lot of people, I don't think they're afraid to kind of take that light and put it on their shadow, right? And I think that's why we have, like Netflix and like all of this. I don't want to call it addiction, but it's distraction, right? We're entertainment. We're constantly kind of distracting ourselves. So I like to use entertainment to help focus people and to help them become more conscious and aware. It's like taking medicine, right? Like a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. It's that same theory, right? It's like, okay, if we're going to uncover these truths, let's laugh about it too, or if you can laugh about it, I'll make a joke about it and I'll laugh about it.
Right. So what I think is super cool in all of this, as I was looking through, you are offering for the Badass Crew, or at least the first 5 who reach out to you, their own comedic tarot reading.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure anybody who's like, ooh, I like tarot, or I've never had a tarot reading, but you know what? It's because they all look boring and stupid, but I think I'd be into a comedic tarot reading.
Oh yeah.
Reach out to Michael. So Michael, how would you like them to connect with you to let you know that they are from this audience and would like a comedic tarot reading?
Oh man, like I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. You can DM me on either of those platforms. Say you heard me on the platform, or go to my website and shoot me an email and just say you heard me on Jennie's podcast, and I'll give you that comedic tarot reading.
Awesome. And just make sure you ask him, am I one of the first 5?
Yeah.
It's he's got to run a business, y'all. He can't be doing free readings for all thousands of you who listen to the show. So reach out. This is a first come, first serve. Now, don't assume just because you're reading this months later that somebody actually took action. Okay. Reach out and check in with him, because even if you don't end up getting the comedic tarot reading, you do a monthly conscious comedy workshop. Tell
I
me about
do.
that one.
Yeah, so conscious comedy, I've been teaching conscious comedy at festivals since 2017. And, if you've been listening to this episode, this is what this is. It's a combination of kind of all of my passions. So it's breath work, movement and space exercises, followed by improvisational theater games. And so right now, I don't know when this episode's coming out, but it's April 16th. So tomorrow, Wednesday, April 17th, I'm teaching my very first 2-hour class online. And like Jenny said, I'm going to be teaching this online once a month. I think until I die. I've decided that. I turn 33 next month, and I hope to teach this class online every month until I die because I think it's really important. It's 45 minutes of breath work. So it's going to be a really deep breath work session. If you've never done breath work before, even if you had, I guarantee you're going to have an experience.
Yeah.
And from the comfort of your own home, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is lie back. I have a track and I will provide guidance. And then right after that, we're going to just move. We're going to stretch. We're going to play. We'll do like a little bit of yoga, just, because the first step is about connecting, right? Connecting to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Connecting to the divine or oneness, your higher self, God, whoever, right? Woo, woo, woo. Here's your answer. Non woo, woo. It's you, baby. It's all you. So we'll be just connecting. Right to you, to you, big you, little you, all the yous. And then then we go into the movement and space exercises because now we want to connect to our body, right? So it's only after we've done these practices that we engage the mind and get into the improv games. Because I've found from teaching improv my whole life that is the number one problem people have is they get stuck in their head or what should I say? Or is this right? Or is this wrong? Or they care about how other people view them. But I've found by starting with breathwork, starting with movement and space exercises, we're already all in such a really grounded place that it makes the improv that much more connected and that much more powerful. But then I just run a few games. There's a few that I have that are favorites. I'm sure the longer I run this, I'll have to mix it up too, because I'm sure there'll be people coming back every month and I want to keep it interesting for them. But I have a big book of games. And so that's the fun thing too, is the more that people kind of come back, we can go into some of the more advanced games, which are really fun, but you got to be a little more experienced. So I'd like to start with the basic stuff just to get everybody moving, getting out of their heads and just playing.
There you go. So if you're somebody who's figured out that maybe you need to incorporate a little bit more comedy into life and business, and you're trying to figure out how, Michael is probably the answer for you because as y'all have heard before, Badass Crew, if you're hearing this, it's because the universe said you needed something in this episode. Who knows what that is? I don't know what it is for you, but I know for me, it's the better understanding of breathwork and seeing now a connection to something else like human design, and then being able to then incorporate the comedy piece, which I think is absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. So for those of you who are listening and you want to participate in this, my Badass Crew knows, go to the show notes and we will have a link to the Conscious Comedy. We'll have a link to his website where you can find the Conscious Comedy, sign up and get in there. It's only $27, y'all. Now, that's 2024 prices. If you're listening to this years from now, I have no idea what he's going to be charging then. It's probably going to be a little bit more.
Because that's how much $27 will be worth next year. No.
Right, exactly. So, but right now in 2024, it's $27 to participate in this and be able to connect to yourself, learn some comedy, to be able to bring it into your life, bring more of it into your business. And wherever else you want to bring it in the bedroom. I don't care. I think it's much more fun if you can laugh in the bedroom because, again, you're having fun, so you may as well have fun.
I agree.
Right? So, Badass Crew, check the show notes. Now, if it happens to be the very first time that you're ever listening to this podcast, or maybe any podcast ever, and you're like, show notes, what are those? Grab your phone, as long as you're not driving. Click on today's episode, scroll under Michael's picture, and you will see all of the information there, including ways to connect with Michael through social media and the link to his website so you can check out Conscious Comedy Workshops and go check them out. Because I know I'm going to be going to one. I can't make it this month. I already am booked. I looked at the time and I was like,
Oh,
So
good.
I will be looking at May or June and we'll figure something out. I will be at a future one
Let
because
me know.
it just sounds like so much freaking fun. I want to do it. So, and I'll bring some friends. So y'all, you might be in a class with me. Who knows? You know, maybe we'll bring Michael in and do our own little badass class. It'd be kind of fun. So we'll see.
I would love that.
Oh, well, there we go. Ooh, some ideas. See,
That would
that's
be
what
fun.
happens when you breathe and have fun and laugh and you go, ooh, I just had an idea. Let's do it. So, Michael, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up on what can sometimes be a very typical connection networking thing with a Kraken hat, because it caught my attention and it brought us together. I'm so excited. Thank you for sharing with my audience all of this great information. Hopefully those who haven't tried breath work will kind of go, maybe that's how I can get out of it.
It definitely doesn't hurt. I remember when I was in Bali, it was the day after the retreat, and I think I started thinking about my business again, or like social media, and I started feeling weird. I was like, I'm feeling frustrated and weird. And I went to Jacques, said, Jacques, I'm feeling weird. And he just looked at me and goes, Michael, go do breath work. And I went and did breath work, and I felt better and I had clarity, So it's a practice, like any practice.
That's fantastic. I love it. Okay, y'all. So I'm going to wrap this up. Make sure you check the show notes to connect with Michael. Go get your complimentary comedic tarot reading in case there's any left. Double check and see. He was joking with me with some of the cards before we hit record. So I'm telling y'all, he is funny. It is totally worth it. Do it. It was amusing. Very, very fun. And really got us into the space for recording this episode today. Michael, you're awesome. Thank you for being here. And I really hope that people who need you reach out to you and connect with you, because there's a reason that they listen to you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Jenny. This has been a blast.
You're welcome. And Badass Crew, stay tuned, because you know what's happening next. There's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.